Hello and welcome to Live and Local in Bloom. I'm Catherine Lenneberg and we are live today at Mickman Brothers Nursery in Ham Lake. And this is just a beautiful spot on a beautiful day. And we have a great show for you. This program is for you gardeners and you wanna-be gardeners, and there are lots of us in Minnesota. Today you're gonna meet some very experienced people in the garden and landscape business. You're going to learn how to properly trim a tree, how to plant up perennials, which will be beautiful outside your home or office. We also have an Ask a Master Gardener segment who's going to answer your questions, and much more. We also have as our host Georgette Knoll, and she is a local woman and a master gardener herself, and we're pleased to have her as part of our QCTV production. So here we go with Live and Local in Bloom.
Thank you for joining us today. I'm Georgette Knoll and I live here in Andover with my husband Jeff. I'm a master gardener. I love to garden and talk about gardening, so I'm delighted to be here on Live and Local, where we will be talking about my favorite topics: plants, flowers, and trees. You gardeners, you know what I mean. Mickman's here in Andover is a favorite local spot for many of us, and I would like to introduce to you John Mickman. He's the founder, president, CEO of Mickman Brothers, a busy man. Thank you, John, for letting us do our gardening show here today. This is quite an operation. When you talk about a full-service garden center, what does that entail?
Well, first of all, I have to clarify something. I'm co-founder with my brother Chris. We started the company in 1975, and we work together each and every day on all aspects of the operation. What makes us unique in the garden center business is there's a number of things, but what's unique about the Twin Cities gardening industry is that we're blessed in the Twin Cities to have so many really fabulous family-owned community garden centers. Well, Bachman's and Gerton's, and we're in, unfortunately, Linders isn't in business anymore, but really some great garden centers. And what makes family-owned community garden centers different from the big boxes is the plethora of selections of all the materials we have. All of us family-owned garden centers really try to specialize in a wide variety of all the plants that are hardy and healthy for our climate zone. And we all really do a good job in that. And at Mickman Brothers, we really focus on having some unique varieties that you're not going to see everywhere else. And we do much of our own growing. Almost all of our annuals we grow right here on site. Our growing greenhouses are in the back of the facility. They're huge, and most of our annuals are grown there. And in the early spring, we fill this greenhouse up with perennials. So we grow many of our own perennials. And having that luxury to grow our own gives us the opportunity to bring up only the plants that are fleshed out, ready to go, all plumped up and looking great for our customers.
Good. Let's talk about trees. You offer several services like trimming and root removal. What else do you guys do with trees?
Well, in our area, in Oka County, most of us live in sand. And the good news about growing really anything in sand is that almost everything grows in sand. It's all about the root system, and sand accepts root growth real readily, as opposed to hard-packed clay where roots have a tough time growing through there. That's the good news. The bad news is water and nutrients leaches really rapidly through sand. And so it's important to keep trees, all plant materials, hydrated with plenty of nutrients so that they won't die, but in order to thrive, they really need to be fertilized. After they're growing and ready to go, for trees, many people think that now it's planted, it's growing, I can leave it alone. It's not the case. They need corrective pruning not long after they're growing, and as long as they are growing, there's always an opportunity for corrective pruning on trees. If you have a nice open crown on a tree, the wind can blow through, for instance, and it minimizes fungus and disease issues, but also minimizes the risk for blowdowns in big storms. And And a well-pruned tree, big beautiful oak tree, it just has a different look than a tree that's got such a dense crown you can't see the infrastructure of the branching. And we specialize our arborists. My daughter Mariah runs that department, and she doesn't like me to use the term artfully pruned, but that's what we do. I mean, they're artfully pruned so that they just look great when we're done, and it makes such a difference.
Well, thanks. What are the challenges of running an operation like Mickman's?
It's all about the people, and we really have a great staff. Chris and I started our company in 1975, and we've really been able to identify, the best and the brightest people in our industries, attract them and retain them, because at the end of the day, it's our people talking with our clients and our customers to help them achieve their goals. So it's managing the people and keeping them excited about what they do. All our businesses are seasonal operations, and the bad news for that is there's nothing we can do in the wintertime to really have any income. The good news is we have all that time in the wintertime to evaluate how it went the year before and to make plans to make it even better the next year. And our ability to step back and do this planning really is important to our operation, and that's one of our biggest challenges. It's the people and making sure that they're supplying what I envision. If I was to do it myself with my customers, that's what I want our employees to do it. And we've really been fortunate to be able to achieve that goal.
Thank you so much, John. This has been very informative, and we appreciate you being with us today. QCTV's Catherine and Corey came out to Mickman's earlier this month so John could show us how to trim a tree. Let's take a look at that now.
Hi, I'm John Mickman, president of Mickman Brothers, and today we're going to talk about pruning evergreen trees. I've been doing pruning evergreen trees since I was a little kid. My dad grew Christmas trees, and so from the time I was 10, I've actually been doing this job, and that makes it almost 50 years, or more than 50 years, sorry about that. There's two different types of evergreen trees we have predominantly in Minnesota. There's pine trees, such as this one, and with pine trees, typically they have longer needles than fir trees, like this spruce tree, which is in the fir family. Fir trees have shorter needles, and they have two different really distinct kind of growing habits. Fir trees grow out new buds along last year's growth all along the stem. You can see there's new growth here, new growth here, new growth here, along with some bud sets on the tip. And then this is this spring's new growth, but all along the stem. But on a pine tree, the growth is much different. They don't grow any buds along last year's growth. They only have bud sets at the tip of last year's growth. For instance, on this is an Austrian pine. There's bud sets on the tip of the last year's growth, but nothing along here. So pine trees have a different growing habit. They only grow new growth on the tip of the last year's growth. For instance, on this Austrian pine, there's no bud sets along last year's growth. All the new growth is at the tip of last year's growth, where there was a cluster of bud sets, which is now taken off the spring into this new growth. Because of the way pine trees grow their new growth, which is only on the tip of last year's growth, and they only do it once in the year in the spring, the time to prune pine trees is real time sensitive. Sometime in June, not later than July 1st. Kind of depends on the weather in the spring, but typically the rule of thumb is no later than July 1st. The reason is because you can prune this when it's still a soft, succulent growth, but after it turns to woody growth, for instance, last year's growth, you can't prune it anymore because it's too late to do a bud set for the previous year's growth. So, sometime in June, third week in June is typically the ideal time. And what we're looking for in pruning nursery stock trees is a looser form. You don't want to prune them too tight like a Christmas tree. We're not talking about Christmas trees. When a tree is smaller like this and you prune it real tight like a Christmas tree, when it gets up to 10, 12, 15 feet tall, you won't be able to prune it tight, and it'll have a real obtuse look, tight on the bottom and loose at the top. So when you're pruning evergreen trees, you're looking for a couple distinct features. One of them is, and the main one is, double leaders. If you have double leaders in the low form of a tree like this, they'll form competing trunks as the tree matures, and you're looking for big troubles later on, plus they don't look very good. In this tree we have, it's real obvious right up here, there's two competing leaders along this top whorl, which is, we call this is last year's leader, and this top whorl has all kind of laterals, but these two are both competing for the leader, and we need to eliminate one of these. So what I always look for is the growth that is most centralized and healthy. If this wasn't healthy, I'd probably choose this one, but both of these are very healthy. This one is more centrally located, so I'm actually going to eliminate this one, which means I'm going to cut it back way back down into the base, like this. Gone. Now I've got a central leader. I don't want to cut this, I'm going to leave this grow. Otherwise I'm going to have a real short compact tree, which is not what we're looking for. We're trying to grow a nursery stock, tall as soon as we can. But I'm going to nip off a couple of these so they don't try to compete with this leader. So when I do that, I'm just going to cut these off like this. They don't have to be the same length. And now what will happen is, because it's still June, where I trim this off, it will still be able to form a bud set at the tip of this candle, so that next year it'll take off from here and form new growth, just like it did from previous year's growth down here. So this top whorl is the main thing we're looking for when pruning pine trees. And other than that, I just look for basic shape of the tree. If there's a branch that's sticking way out, I'll nip off that candle. But this one is basically okay here. I think I'll prune off just a couple of these, a little bit shorter, so they don't compete with these laterals up here. Same thing back here. Just a little bit here maybe. That's it. This is good to go. Again, you don't want to cut them too tight. It's nursery stock. You don't want them for a Christmas tree. You want them to grow nice and big into a beautiful nursery stock to enhance your yard. This specimen here is a Black Hills spruce, and it's really a nice one. They're extremely hardy in Minnesota, and it's one of our favorites in the garden center here for selling to our customers. They're good for making screens, busy roads or neighbors, or for whatever reason. As I mentioned earlier, fir trees grow new growth out from the previous year's growth. This last year's growth right here, this stem, had a number of buds along it. Now these buds have formed into little branches. So branch, 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 branch. All the way along here there's new growth, including the bud set on the tip, which is growing into this new growth. The reason we can prune these later in the year is because if I need to cut back in here, as long as I cut just above some bud sets of new growth, these will continue growing. So when we're pruning Christmas trees, we always do the pine trees first in June. When we're done with the pine trees, we can go to the fir trees in July and even into August if we have to. So in this case, as I mentioned earlier with the pine trees, we don't need to prune it too tight. We want it to grow and get as much size as possible as nursery stock. And in this case, we've got a nice dominant leader, that's fine. We've got these lateral branches, which are just perfect, no problem. And all along the stem here, we've got these buds that formed other little branches, which next year will be out here as this comes up and continues to grow this spring. This is a pretty nice tree. It doesn't need much work at all. With evergreen teas, you really don't need to do much. If it looks good and you like it, that's probably where you want to be. There's one thing with this tree that I would like to do, however, and that is probably, I've got a little problem here with this lateral branch trying to come up and compete with the leader. And it starts way back down here. So what I'm going to do is come back and cut off this last year's growth and just get rid of that so that it doesn't want to compete with this leader and form a double trunk. But really that's it. I'm not going to trim this leader. I'm not going to trim these lateral branches. Fir trees generally grow in a real conical form. They don't need much. And because they grow out branches along the stem, typically they're more dense than pine trees, which have a more open branching. So, but two different type of growing habits, two different looks in nursery stock and in landscaping, and they're both my favorites. The nice thing about evergreen trees in Minnesota is we have winter for like 6 or 8 months, and they always are in color. They're always beautiful evergreen trees. So that's it. Good luck with your trimming. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to come to the Garden Center and talk with any one of us. Thank you.
Thank you. That was very helpful. John certainly knows a lot about tree trimming, and I'm sure Chris Mickman does as well. Chris is the co-founder and the Director of Business Development for Mickman's. Thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely, Georgette.
We love being here at Mickman's, and now we're going to talk about landscape design. A big part of your business. I understand you have large corporate clients like Mercy Hospital, and you also have small clients who might do a project in stages over several years. Let's start with a corporate client. Tell us how it works.
Well, we have several landscape designers, but one of our commercial estimators is named Bob Rolls, and he takes care of our corporate clients. So he works with architects and designers and corporations to find out what they want. And we come up with a price that works for them. And then the nice thing about Bob and our crews is he walks things through to make sure that if something goes wrong, sometimes things go wrong, we are able to get things done on time. And so we're very proud of our professional crews and how Bob takes care with the customers to make sure they're happy.
What have been some of your favorite projects?
Well, we've got a special love of Mercy Hospital and Unity Hospital, and we've done work at both of them, so I'd have to say those are our favorites.
I have a friend who just recently had a large rain garden installed by Mickman's. Talk about residential projects. What kinds of things do homeowners ask for? And tell us about the design to construction process.
Yes, we have, as I said, a total of 4 designers, and their ability to meet the customer, but also to listen very carefully to what the customer says and wants. And sometimes the customer doesn't know what they want. So we listen very carefully, and then we go back and do a landscape plan and find out exactly what they want. Sometimes it takes more than one time around for the plan. And we present the plan to fit the budget, and depending on whatever they want, we can make it happen for them.
Good. What are some of the trends you're seeing lately in landscaping? Is it more natural and sustainable?
Absolutely, yeah. And you mentioned rain gardens earlier, and we've done quite a few rain gardens, and natural plantings are all the vogue, and that's just great. We also have a couple of mulch blowing trucks that we are able to use to blow the mulch or wood chips on top of our different rain gardens. And even if it's up on a rooftop or something like that, we love the projects that are a little bit more complicated, that we have to use cranes to bring things up there, or take the mulch hose and blow it up on rooftop gardens and things. So, but we love natural plants, and we love to place boulders, for example, not like you're just putting a boulder down on a landscape, but putting it, half burying it so that it looks like God put it there.
Good. What makes a garden sustainable?
I think that it's a symbiosis between the plants and the mulch, which keeps the soil cool and moist, and also taking care with the design or the planning of your garden or any landscape to make sure that the plants aren't too close together and that it makes sense.
Good. Well, thank you for being here today. We really appreciate it. And next up, we're going to learn about putting together beautiful pots for outside your home or office. Catherine?
All right, very good. Thank you so much, Georgette and Chris. Joining me now are Jane Ann and Jeanette. Thank you so much for being here with us today. And we're going to do something really cool, which is, actually Jeanette's going to do it, and Jane Ann and I are going to talk about it. A new trend are the perennials in a pots. So tell us a little bit about that, Jane Ann. When did this start? Is it new this summer?
I think the last couple of years it's been becoming more and more popular. People always want something new and different, something a little unusual, and perennials are just a great way to get something that your neighbor doesn't have.
Okay, so Jeanette is putting one together for us now, and tell us what plants she's using and why these go well together.
So one of the first things you want to consider when you do the planting is you want all of your plants to be good for either sun or shade. So you need to think about where you're going to have your container. And she's pulled out a really beautiful fern called Autumn Brilliance, and then some Scotch moss and some heucheras. And these perennials will go mostly in shade. They can take a little bit of sun, but they're mostly going to be in the shade.
They're beautiful. They look so nice together.
They do.
Tell us what plants we have in here.
Okay, and I do want to mention, if you have a huge container like this, it can get a little spendy if you have to, you could use a whole bag of potting soil just filling your pot. So there are several different things you can do because you don't have to have the soil all the way to the bottom. So you can use old milk jugs smashed up or old pots, anything that will still allow the water to drain through, straw, mulch. But you do need fresh soil then 6 to 8 inches down. The perennials we have in here, this is a penstemon called Dark Towers, and this is another heuchera called Berry Smoothie. Then we have some sedums. This is actually a sun container. Sedums can tolerate, all of these plants can go a little on the dry side. Sedums do not like a lot of water. So this would be great in a really kind of hot environment where they're maybe not going to get consistent watering.
And how often would you water a pot of perennials?
It really depends. So if it's windy and super hot, sometimes every day. The containers do dry out more quickly than the ground. The other thing is whenever you water, all the nutrients kind of go through, so you want to fertilize your pots, either with a slow release that you can actually put in the dirt, or you can just do Miracle-Gro or something like that. But I would say in the hot heat of the summer, probably every day, every other day.
Okay, very good. And look how beautiful that is.
And you need to water it in well.
And you need to water that well.
When it's planted, yeah.
Right.
And then this one over here is really beautiful with a white astilbe, decorative grass, and then some bacopa. I think it just really complements the pot. And we've got, you know, the tall, thin structure on this, and then this is a different leaf structure, and the purple just really makes it pop out. It's just a really nice combination.
Beautiful. Now you're a garden coach here, so
Yes,
what
I
does
am.
that really mean?
So what I do is I work with people who maybe they don't want to use a landscaper and do a big, like a lot of hardscapes, but they just want to freshen their landscape, or they're new homeowners, they don't have a lot of money to spend. So they can come sit down with me for a consultation, and I draw up, give them ideas. We go out and walk around, and I show them shrubs and trees and, you know, things that would work, and then we kind of play around, set them out, and they choose what they think would be good in their landscape.
And how do you choose? Do you base it on color, on texture, on watering
Both,
requirements?
and a lot of it's personal preference. You know, you can start with your signature plant, and in this one, you know, the colors, we've got the purplish tinge kind of all the way around here. They kind of bounce off each other. It's nice to have different textures in there. It's nice to have something tall, something that sort of spills over the side, just like you would do with an annual container, but instead we're using the perennials.
Where do people start if they're beginner gardeners? Do they walk in here and go, oh my gosh, it's so overwhelming, I just want to do something, what could I do?
It is overwhelming, I think, for a lot of people. Containers are a great place to start because it's small and manageable. And we have really good staff here to help people with choosing what goes together, and water needs, light needs, do they need to be sun or shade? So we can help guide people to pick the things that will work best for their.
What kind of spring and summer has it been for gardeners?
Great. It's been really, we had such early nice warm weather, so that got us off to a great start. Mother Nature played a little tricks with a little cold snap then, but most people are telling us their plants are more beautiful, bigger, more spectacular this year than they've really been. So it's been a good year.
Good, very good. Well, thank you both so much for being with us here today. That just turned out lovely.
It's beautiful.
Very, very nice. We really appreciate it.
All right.
Yes, very good. Alrighty, I recently got back from a trip to Holland, and when I was there, the tulips were blooming, and in Holland, everybody has a beautiful little garden. They just take such good care of it. And you know, here at QCTV, we think of it as a very local channel, but when I got over to Holland, the Dutch people were ready for me, and so let's take a look now at some international gardening.
I am Wim Nijenhuis from Holland, and this is my brother Harry.
Yes.
This is my brother Jan.
Yes.
This is my brother Benny.
Hello.
This is my brother Alphonse.
Compliments.
And this is my brother Jos.
Hello.
And when we are visiting the USA, we looking to
QCTV rocks. One more time. QCTV rocks. Yeah.
Those Dutch people really know how to have a good time, and I want to thank them for doing that for us. And now we are going to go to a segment called Grilling in the Garden. And you're going to see Matt and Deb, and Deb has a big-time medical job, and Matt works here at QCTV and loves all things cooking. So let's take a look at Grilling in the Garden.
Hi, and thanks for joining us for Grilling in the Garden. For QCTV, I'm Matt Overstreet, and with you again for another cooking segment. And with me today is a guest. This is Deborah Codella Reinhardt, and she's going to show us some things that we can grill that we've grown in our own garden. So thank you so much for being with us today, Deborah.
Thanks for letting me join you.
Absolutely. So what kind of things are we going to be cooking today?
Well, today what we're going to make is pizza. But we're going to make pizza out of zucchini instead of having bread, because I can't have yeast, so I can't have any kind of bread. I love pizza, and I have a daughter that is 21 that when she was young, when I was a Girl Scout leader, she would not eat any vegetables. So if I said, let's try something to make it fun, she said, okay, I'll eat it. So this was one of our staples. So to start off for me, I'm going to take my zucchini and I'm going to get them ready to go on the grill.
Okay.
Okay, so if you could cut up my basil, I would appreciate that.
Absolutely, I can do that.
We'll actually have you chop them up into this one right here. So whenever you do grilling for something that's round, you got to flatten it. Okay, so I'm going to just trim off the sides.
Okay.
Don't go too crazy, just give it enough so it's a flat side. And then with these, you can actually do 3 segments. Okay. So just slice it. Worst thing to do is cut towards yourself, but I do that all the time, so let's not cut myself.
But you're a pro.
Yeah, whatever. We will go with that idea. How does that sound?
Works for me.
So when I do this, once they're cut into 3 equal parts, add some olive oil.
Okay.
Olive oil on your grill. Keep your grill nice and warm. Don't go too hot or you will burn it.
Okay.
All I do is just a little dab of olive oil, take it in my hand. Your hand is just like a glove.
Sure.
You don't need to waste a lot.
Sure.
Once you have that set, just throw it on your grill that's nice and hot.
Okay.
And then you're going to grill both sides. And the reason you're going to grill both sides is you want it to be nice and tender, but you don't want it to be too tender that it's going to fall apart.
Okay.
Okay?
Now once I've cut this up, where should I put it?
Put it right in the sauce.
Oh, right in the sauce.
With the
You got
pepperoni.
it.
So once we have those cooking,
okay,
what we're gonna do is just stir this up. We'll throw in some pepperoni. I like my stuff meaty.
Sure.
If you're gonna have a vegetable, you might as well have some meat with it, get some protein in there, right?
Okay.
Okay, once these have grilled up, we'll turn them over, and then we're gonna actually put them on a pizza pan. And the reason you wanna put it on a pizza pan is there's nothing worse than a mess. So when you have tomato sauce going onto your grill, I don't like cleaning. So we'll use a pizza pan, or you can use tin foil. Either one works really well.
And that grill can be difficult to kind of clean off with some of this stuff.
So you'll just put your zucchini, and mine just got a little Cajun style, and that's a good thing. Then we're gonna add in our pizza sauce, And we're just gonna spread that on the top, adding in your basil and your pepperoni. Get it nice and thick. Cover everything up like you do on a regular pizza.
And we're back with Grilling in the Garden again. I'm QCTV's Matt Overstreet, and I'm here with Deborah Codella Reinhardt, and we are going to find out what we made now. What's the result of what we put together?
The result is we have a good pizza. We have
Oh,
a
that
pizza
looks
that has
delicious.
cheese and pepperoni on zucchini. No bread, no yeast, no allergy. Something nice and healthy.
It looks delicious,
Okay.
absolutely. And now, if I'm not mistaken, there was something else that we were going to do that's going to kind of complement that.
We are. We're going to do a raspberry. We're going to do a rhubarb blueberry smoothie. And the
Sounds
best
delicious.
part about that is you can grow rhubarb in the garden. All I'm going to have you do is chop some of this up.
Okay.
We'll take rhubarb into our ice with
Okay.
fresh blueberries. And we'll add it into our NutriBullet, which is one of my favorite little choppers. And then we add tea to it, and then it's a fresh drink to drink.
I actually have one at home.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yes, I use it all the time.
I don't know that I use it as much as I should, but
It's a daily staple. Every morning, if you have something like this made up, you can actually make these the night before, put them in the fridge, and then add some orange juice to it to spice it up.
Okay.
Add a little extra ice, and you have a nice smoothie for the road.
Okay.
Perfect. That's about as much as we need. All I'm going to do is we're going to add that right on in,
okay.
and then I'm going to take a little orange juice. It gets a little loud, but you have to add at least some form of a liquid whenever you do this. Otherwise, your ice will get all stuck to the bottom, and then you
Okay.
have a mess.
Okay.
And then the last part is put your top on nice and tight so you don't have a mess to wear later.
All right.
And then we're just going to mix that up. Once it's done, give it a good shake.
All right.
And then we're gonna do it one more time. And we're gonna pour it in a glass. We're gonna add a little bit of tea to it because I like sun tea.
Okay.
I do a lot of sun tea and keep it in the house and
This
in
is
the
tea
fridge.
right here?
Yep.
All right.
And I'll pour some of this in. And go ahead.
Say when.
Perfect.
All right.
And now you have a nice spring drink.
Looks wonderful, and I can't think of two things that would complement each other. And once again, these are fresh, wonderful things that we got right out of the garden.
Easy to make.
Good for us, delicious to eat, and healthy as well. Next, we are going to learn how to become master gardeners.
That pizza looked delicious, and it's always fun to eat what you've grown, especially if it's fresh vegetables like tomatoes and peppers. Joining me now is Lynn Hagan, and she's a Master Gardener Coordinator for Anoka County. Let's talk about the program. Technically, it's the University of Minnesota Extension Gardener Program, correct?
Yes, it is.
It exists in 50 states and in the United States, where there are over 100,000 Master Gardener volunteers from all walks of life. Tell us about the program, Lynn.
Well, it started in 1972 in Washington State, and in Minnesota it started in 1977 with the first class having 25 students.
Where do you start if you want to become a Master Gardener?
Well, there is a bit of a process. This year we're going to try something new. We have kind of an open house for people who are interested in the program to come and participate in one of our educational sessions. We call it an update meeting, and that will be announced and held on August 27th. And it'll be an opportunity for people to come and experience what an educational program is like to be in the Master Gardener program. And then we're going to follow up with a orientation and more of an in-depth informational session in September 14th. After that, there's an application process, and people apply to the program, and then there follows up with an interview, and then that follows up with a core course. And the core course is a 48-hour educational, in-depth educational program for people interested in, that are accepted in the program. And then once they complete that, they have an internship, which is a requirement of volunteer requirement of meeting a 50-hour minimum in the first year as part of their internship program before they can become what we call a certified Master Gardener.
What are some of the activities that volunteers do?
Oh my gosh, we have so many. Some of our bigger activities include answering horticulture questions at Ask a Master Gardener booths. We have what we call diagnostic clinics on Wednesday evenings throughout the summer. And we have a whole slew of master gardeners that are available to answer questions. People from the community bring in samples of plants, insects, diseased plants, things like that, looking for answers on how to take care of them. And we have a lot of volunteers that teach classes, and we have youth education programs, a demonstration garden, and even some research projects.
What are some of the typical gardening questions that you get this time of the year?
Oh, we're getting a lot of questions on insects this year. So four-line plant bug is a real big problem this year. A lot of plant damage. They're not very selective, so they'll chew on just about anything. Another big problem we've seen a lot this year is a disease on blue spruce trees called Rhizosphere needlecast disease. And we've had a lot of samples come in about that this year. And of course, a tremendous amount of plant ID. So a lot of people bringing in samples of weeds, wanting to know how to get rid of weeds in their garden or in their lawns. So we get a lot of ID questions.
I have a lot of four-line plant bugs in my own garden, and I spend all morning squishing them.
Oh, yeah.
And now we're going to put up some contact information for the Master Gardener program. The first one is the general phone number. It's 763-755-1280, and you can call them with your general questions. And then also, we're going to give you the website for the Anoka County Master Gardeners, and that is anokamastergardeners.org. Thank you so much for being here, Lynn. We really appreciate it. And now we're going to get some expert advice and answers to some of your garden questions from two master gardeners. Sue Sherrick and Jane Calhoun are up next in our Ask a Master Gardener segment.
Thank you, Georgette. My name is Sue Sherrick. I'm a master gardener in Anoka County, working through the Extension Service in the Anoka County Master Gardener Program. With me today is Jane Ann Calhoun. You met her a bit earlier when she was showing how she works as a garden coach and designer here at Mickman Brothers. Jane is also a master gardener with Anoka County, and we're here today to answer a few of the questions that we have seen at Ask a Master Gardener booths and at our diagnostic clinic this year. So we're just going to give you a sample of some of the things we hear and talk to you about how you can diagnose garden problems or where you can come if you can't figure them out yourself. As I walked out the door this morning, I found maple leaves from my own tree on the ground looking pretty sick and sad. And before I was a master gardener, I would have been on the phone asking someone, "What's wrong with my tree? Is my maple tree dying?" And then I'd say, "Wait a minute, most of the tree looks like this, and I just have a few of these leaves." So what happens with maple trees and some of the other trees is when we have cool and damp weather, as we've had over the last few weeks, anthracnose, a disease, will attack the leaves and it will make the tree drop its leaves. It's pretty benign. If your tree loses its leaves even fully, which doesn't usually happen, it will leaf out again and it will be fine. One of the ways to figure out for yourselves what's wrong with your plants is we have an application through the University of Minnesota that is called What's Wrong with My Plant? You've seen already, I think, the Master Gardener website address for Anoka County, and this link is available through there. When we're at a diagnostic clinic or a plant booth, we actually have the application with us on our computer, and we can pull up pictures and show you exactly what's wrong. If, however, we're unable to help you, or if you are able to find someone who has an Ask a Master Gardener booth, Anoka County runs a plant disease and diagnostics clinic Wednesday evenings during the summer from 6 to 8 p.m. at Bunker Hill. And you can find the information about that also on our website. If you are coming to the plant diagnostic clinic, if it's at all possible for you to do so, please don't just bring us a cell phone picture of what your problem is. Please bring us a sample, and the bigger the sample you can bring us, the better. So bring a sample of the diseased plant. We can also help you identify insect problems and insects, and we can help you actually identify plants if you just moved into the house and you have no idea what it is, or if your mother-in-law gave it to you and you planted it and she doesn't know what it is either. So Jane, have you got another question
Yeah,
we've
I
heard
have a
about?
question that came in. When do I prune my hydrangea? My neighbor pruned hers last weekend, but my dad says it's too early. So hydrangeas, first off, you need to know which hydrangea you have. If you have a paniculata, they can be trimmed in the spring. And they're particularly beautiful. If you have one like a Pinky Winky or Quickfire, leave the blooms on. The blooms are beautiful and nice to have for winter interest. Then when spring rolls around, go ahead and take them back. Do your pruning then. Another question that came in?
Well, no, I was going to add that if you want to know when to prune a specific shrub or tree and how to prune it, the University of Minnesota has an app for that. So once again, you go to the Anoka County Master Gardener website, you look up the University of Minnesota web page, you click on that, and there's actually a whole page on pruning. When to prune, how to prune, and whether to prune, because not every shrub should be pruned.
And one thing to keep in mind is you really should try to buy the right plant for the right place. So don't buy an 8-foot shrub to fit in a space where you only want it to be 4 or 5 feet tall, because then you're going to have to hack on that plant. Better to buy the 4 or 5-foot shrub, put it in that place.
The other thing is tree pruning is a whole nother story, and there are seasons for pruning trees. John has done a segment in this show on tree pruning, and you can also look that up by specific tree on the website to see when to prune, so that you don't have to try and memorize it or try and find John here in the garden center to ask him.
I think the other one
did
you have the tomato one?
Yes. This is always timely in July, which is very near, and that is people come to us and ask, how can I grow nice tomatoes without a lot of chemicals? And there's 3 parts to growing the tomatoes. One is the site and the sanitation of the site. That is, you need a place in full sun, preferably a place where tomatoes have not been planted in the past 2 to 3 years. And the third thing is, you need to find a site where the tomatoes will not be watered with an overhead sprinkler system, because that overhead sprinkling helps spread disease. The other thing to do is to reduce the contamination of the plant with soil, and we call it keep the plant off the soil and keep the soil off the plant. You can do that either by mulching the soil to keep it from splashing up on the plant, or by planting in a space that doesn't have microorganisms in the soil from previous plantings of tomatoes. Any other tips about tomato planting?
Tomatoes, no, but we did have a question about planting grass under trees. And just really quickly, grass doesn't want to grow under trees because grass needs moisture and sun. Under the trees is usually dry and shady. So maybe it's a good place to consider doing mulch or ground covers. We do have an excellent reference that's also available on the University of Minnesota Extension as a download. The best plants for 30 tough sites. And there's just great reference material. Some other options you could plant under your trees besides grass.
Oh, I'm supposed to tell you, we are displaying the web link so that you can see where to find a lot of this information. Once again, you can also call the Master Gardeners, or you can visit the University of Minnesota's website. Thank you. Thanks, Jane.
Thank you.
We're done.
Hi, I'm Jake Holter from Mickman Brothers. I'm the landscape manager here, and wanted to invite you into our garden center and talk about kind of some of the trends that are going on right now in the landscape world. One of them is water. As you can see behind me here, we have created a water wall. It's something that you can include into your yard to kind of create that intimate setting, some privacy, and also the sound. It's definitely something that people are after. This was actually down at the Minneapolis Home and Garden Show, and we took first place there. And you can see that something like this in your yard is definitely going to stand out and provide a lot of sound and also create some privacy too for you. So combine it with a privacy fence and set it next to your patio for a very unique setting. I also like to show you some other things here, fire and water combined. One of the other trends in landscape design this year is fire. You know, in Minnesota, we're all cooped up in the winter so long, and our springs are cold, our falls are cold. It's nice to be able to get around a fire. It brings out great conversation, it's gonna keep you warm, and it's fun. Here we've created an outdoor fireplace, which you could include into your landscape as well. Patio setting, have the fire, sit back, relax, enjoy, and if the game's on, you could even incorporate an outdoor TV into that space as well. This is one of our displays that we also had at the Home and Garden Show downtown. It's a pizza oven. This is also trending in the landscape world right now. It's bringing people around the home, keeping them together, cooking that family meal outside. It could be a lot of fun. You and your kids enjoying a homemade pizza in a custom-built pizza oven by Mickman Brothers. Yes, we are a design build firm. If it's something that you're interested in, whether having a fireplace or a pizza oven, an outdoor cooking display at your property, come see us. We'd be happy to take care of you.
Those are some beautiful outdoor spaces. Joining me now is Adam, and he's the marketing manager here at Mickman's. Thanks, Adam. Tell us about the recent Home and Garden Show. That's a big project for Mickman's, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely it is. You know, it's fun. We get to do it every year, and you know, it's one of those things where we really try to put our all into it. You know, I think the masses come to the Home and Garden Show to get those ideas for their home and garden. So it's really important for us to put everything we have into it, and I think, you know, for every other company, it's important for them too. I think if you're not, you're kind of cheating them, you know. So we like to show them, you know, kind of what we got. We like to flex our design skills and really have fun with it. And even at that, it's usually just the tip of the iceberg. So we like to have fun with it, and we had really good success this year. We got first place, best in show, fan favorite, and so it was really cool. It was a nice kitchen, outdoor gardening theme, you know, kind of garden to table cooking. So yeah, it was really great. You know, we try to make people's dreams a reality when it comes to landscaping and gardening. So
that's really something to make Mickman's proud.
Yeah.
How is the industry this summer? Has the weather been good for gardeners?
The weather has been good, actually. Yeah, you know, we've been kind of seeing a good combo of things. You know, we've had some rain, obviously. We've had probably a lot of rain, but that's good. There's a lot of places that are wishing they had the rain we did. But at the same time, we haven't seen the sweltering heats, but we've also had the sun, so it's kind of made for a good combination that is great for gardening and landscaping.
What are some of the things you do in your job, Adam?
Oh man, I love my job. No 2 days are the same, you know. It's one day I could be interacting with customers on Facebook. The next minute I could be shooting a segment like this for landscaping, or I could be working on some wreath marketing stuff in the middle of June. So there's never really a dull moment. I get to do some pretty cool stuff, and they allow me to be very flexible with it as well. Between social media and video stuff, me and Meg get to shoot some cool mega deal videos that are kind of popular, so it's been fun. We haven't gotten to do one this year yet, but hopefully soon. So yeah, I get to do a lot of fun stuff, and I really enjoy it.
So do we find Mickman's on Facebook and Twitter and
Facebook,
places like
Twitter,
that?
we have an Instagram, YouTube. Our YouTube has a lot of great how-to videos, a lot of good informational videos. Check us out on all those, and of course our website too. So, yep.
Good. What are some of the summer and fall gardening trends this year?
You know, there's a lot of great trends going on in 2015, and a couple of those we brought to the Home and Garden Shows we talked about earlier. Two of the main ones are edibles and outdoor spaces, so outdoor entertainment spaces to be specific.
By edibles, do you mean edibles?
Fruits, vegetables, yeah, gardening and harvesting your own food. So stressing the importance on that garden to table cooking again. So that was, like I said, you know, that was kind of our theme for the Home and Garden Show this year. So you can be gardening and you know, you're cooking on the grill over here, and then you pluck some basil or mint or thyme or anything like that, and you can use it right on the grill, and you know, you got your outdoor entertainment space set up, your bar and your table and everything, so you can cook and eat right there all in one. So those are very popular right now with a lot of landscapes out there. So that's what kind of people are looking for.
What about for the fall?
The fall, you know, obviously the colors are a huge thing for fall. The oranges and the browns, the kind of the neutral colors, but a little bit more into the grays, but also having that pop of color. That's something else we showed at the Home and Garden Show this year. Some timeless classics like the teals and the oranges and things like that. That's going to be huge this fall to tie in. So the warm feeling and even bringing your outdoor or your indoor living outdoors even during the fall. So that's going to be huge, and we expect to see a lot of that. So a lot of opportunities with your landscapes this year.
Well, thank you, Adam.
Absolutely.
Now we're going to talk about watering your garden. We're going to learn about a new irrigation techniques for container gardening.
Hi, my name is Jeff Sutter, and I am General Manager at Mickman Brothers. And today we're going to talk a little bit about irrigation in your patio and deck pots and planters. For deck planters and pots such as this one, we've got the little spike and the tubing and a little adjustable emitter that will water that. Now, for instance, if I have an irrigation system with its own zone, I can time these and measure the water for that pot with my irrigation controller. If I don't have a specific zone for drip, then I have options like this. And so what I would do is attach one of these devices to, say, a rotor zone that is watering turf. I know how many minutes roughly that runs, and I can size one of these emitters to give this pot just as much water that it needs based on the amount of time it's running for my grass. So it's really easy to hook this to any kind of an irrigation system, any zone, by a matter of sizing these devices. I'm going to show you one other option of a different type of irrigation for window boxes. This is a different type of a drip tubing. This one measures, rather than those, the end of line emitters, this one measures through emitters that are built right into this tubing. This tubing can be 1 foot long, it can be 30 feet long. And what we would do is wrap this tubing around these plants inside this box, feed it from one end, and a little bit of water is going to come out of each one of these emitters and evenly water those window boxes. And this is a really efficient way to do a larger area versus a pot. One other option we have when you've got multiple patio pots in one area, we've got a device like this, which I can connect this device to a single water source, and I can run these tubes as long as I need to run them. I can run them across landscapes, I can run them and hide them behind deck posts, and get these into hanging baskets or multiple patio pots with one emitter. And this will hold 8 emitters, so I can do 8 different plantings with this one device. If you've got an area where you've got the foliage that comes up high and you want to get the water above and to broadcast over the top, we have little devices like this which will come up through the foliage. You put your emitters on the top of here and get it up over the foliage. So there's many different types of drip irrigation that we use, and I'm going to turn this one on now so you can see how the nozzle works and what it looks like when it's putting water down. Okay, I got this device turned on right now, and this is going to be one of these types of devices with the adjustable, and I'll kind of show you how that works. And you can see on this pot here where I've got the tubing coming up, and it actually goes down into the ground right here, and that's where it attaches to my irrigation system. So once we get these installed and all the water on, I'll reach in. You want to put these into the center, as far into the center of the pot as you can get it. But you'll see when I turn this, I'm going to get a little bit of stream coming out of there. It's a nice even stream, and I can size this. I can make it do more or less based on the size of my pot and how long it's going to run. So as you can see, it's relatively easy to put irrigation in your patio and deck pots and planters. We'd be glad to give you a hand with designing a system and installing a system. Just get a hold of us at our office at Mickman Brothers, and we'll be glad to help.
Well, thank you, Jeff. We really enjoyed coming to your house and seeing your beautiful pots and your beautiful yard and your home and your neighborhood. It was a lot of fun. Really enjoyed it. Well, that's our live and local show pretty much. What did you think, Georgette? Did you enjoy it?
I loved it. It was a treat being here at Mickman's, especially among all these plants.
I know it. And they're the nicest people here at Mickman's. And
They
everybody
certainly
is so
are.
friendly and nice, Scandinavian nice.
Yep.
Yeah. Now tell me about your garden, Georgette.
I have a large woodland pollinator-friendly garden, so we don't use chemicals, and we plant a lot of native plants for the butterflies and the bees, and I don't have to do a lot of weeding anymore because it's almost 40 years old. So it changes every year, though. I love my garden, and one of my favorite things is just simply sitting in the garden when all the work is done.
Exactly, and admiring it. Yeah, very good. Well, thank you so much for hosting today. It was a lot of fun.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, we really enjoyed it, and I want to thank everybody who helped put this show together. The Mickmans were super nice, very nice to us. We really enjoyed that, and I want to thank everybody who worked on the QCTV part of it. It was a lot of fun putting this together, and we hope you'll keep watching QCTV for local programming. Again, thanks for watching QCTV.